It's good advice for camping, and it's good advice for sports reporting. Don't crap where you eat. Hi, I'm Nick, and this is 10 Minutes with Nick. And today we're going to talk about an ongoing sports scandal. An ongoing sports scandal. One that has raised significant questions, and frankly, one I'm going to enjoy talking about because it involves the New England Patriots, those cheater pumpkin eaters. Recently, Dianna Russini and Mike Vrabel, Dianna Russini, formerly of The Athletic, a reporter, journalist, what have you, and Mike Vrabel, coach of the New England Patriots, those cheater pumpkin eaters, found themselves in a bit of a scandal when they were spotted by a private investigator, seemingly, at a couples-only resort in Sedona, Arizona. Just one problem. They are both married to other people. Now, what people do in their personal lives is usually not the business of the general public. It's usually not the business of sports media until it comes into areas where it may affect their job. In terms of Mike Vrabel, the argument goes, this doesn't really affect his job. If he is just a guy who steps out on his wife, it doesn't affect his ability to coach the New England Patriots. However, for Dianna Russini, she may in fact be compromising the ethics of her profession, given that she is sleeping with a source. Now, a couple of things to note here. First and foremost, the most important thing to note here in general, we're talking about sports. It's just not that deep. Nobody in this scandal is sitting with the nuclear codes. Nobody's passing information to China. Like this is entirely about sports. The significance of sports in our lives is manufactured. It is made up. It is not real. So let's not blow this entire scandal completely out of proportion. Like, these two, it looks like, cheated on their spouses. That sucks. Like, it's not a cool thing to do. But at the same time, nobody got murdered. Nobody got robbed. Nobody got stolen from. Now let's move on to the second point. Having said the first point, we're putting this into its proper context. It's sports. It's not that deep. Now, in our not that deep world, my second point, Dianna Russini was being investigated by The Athletic for a possible breach of ethics. It sounds like there was a stipulation in her contract with The Athletic, which was due to expire on June 30th, that she not compromise herself in any way that the Athletic, owned by the New York Times, would deem unethical or would deem, questionable. Okay. Likely she violated that stipulation in her contract. Even if she wasn't cheating or sleeping with a source and she was just being overly friendly with a source, it's likely she violated that stipulation in her contract. Conversely, Mike Vrabel probably has no stipulation like that in his contract. Where it gets dicey is that Dianna Russini, for much of this year, has spent a lot of time, has spent a lot of time talking about how wide receiver A.J. Brown of the Philadelphia Eagles is deeply unhappy in Philadelphia and that the Patriots are a likely destination for him. Now, it doesn't take much to put 2 plus 2 together there and see that there may be some work being done behind the scenes to prevent other teams from making a trade offer for A.J. Brown and manufacturing a route for him to get from Philadelphia to the New England Patriots, giving the Patriots leverage and taking away leverage from the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, reporters, they kind of do this stuff all the time, right? Like, agents will typically tip them off, or, they want to leak something into the press. They give reporters scoops. That's where they get, like, the anonymous source, where they talk about how this player wants to go to this team or whatever. The questionable part here isn't so much that something was getting leaked, right? Agents do it all the time. It's the appearance of creating favorable conditions for a team. It's tampering. Now, agents do it all the time, but it looks bad if you happen to be, hooking up with the guy who you're doing the tampering for. It does affect it. It does affect the way your decisions are getting made, and it does affect the way we look at it. And here's the thing. The team itself cannot tamper. Meaning the team itself cannot say to a reporter, hey, we want you to leak this information and put it out there that this player only wants to come to us. Now, just because the team can't tamper doesn't mean they don't use intermediaries and get around that tampering rule. But this looks like pretty direct evidence that Vrabel and Russini had a special relationship of some variety. And when you have that special relationship and you talk about how a player wants to go to the New England Patriots, and not only that, but you have a history of basically reporting favorably from Mike Vrabel back when he was at the Tennessee Titans, you open the door to the question of, is Mike Vrabel or the New England Patriots in general tampering? And they have a history of doing that. So this is not a question of it's a question of what's going on, and it raises significant questions. Again, raising significant questions in our properly contextualized, made-up sports world. Nobody's got the nuclear codes. Nobody murdered anybody. Nobody robbed anybody. Properly contextualized sports news. And tampering under NFL rules is completely illegal. Now, the weird thing that's happened with this is that Dianna Russini is being investigated by her workplace, and the Patriots are kind of just shrugging their shoulders. The NFL is kind of just shrugging their shoulders. Like, our boy Mikey, yeah, he might have been tampering, but so what? So what? We don't care. Well, they should care. They should care because there is a bit of a double standard going on here. There's a bit of a double standard going on here because it certainly looks like Mike Vrabel is a source for Russini. And if we want to hold her to a standard, then we should look at the NFL rules and probably hold Mike Vrabel to the standard of no tampering. It warrants an investigation, even if there's nothing there, even if there's just smoke and no fire, which would seem unlikely. Again, stories are leaked in the sports world to create leverage or take away leverage. And Russini reporting that A.J. Brown only wants to go to the New England Patriots means that other teams won't come in and bid for him, or they might not come in and bid for him. And it takes away leverage that the Philadelphia Eagles might have to try to manufacture a trade because AJ, why would I give you all that for AJ Brown? He only wants to go to the New England Patriots anyway. And the New England Patriots can then say, I'm not going to give you all that because he wants to come here. He's not going to be happy unless he comes to Boston. So, I've got all the leverage here. You don't. That's tampering. Now, it might not be happening. Dianna Russini might just have a different source that's telling her about this. A.J. Brown's camp might have told her this. But she's not at a couples-only resort with A.J. Brown's camp. She's at a couples-only resort with Mike Vrabel. And Mike Vrabel coach of the New England Patriots, who's wanted more wide receivers, it's not a good look for either one of them in the properly contextualized sports world. They both should be investigated. Nobody's going to jail, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Nobody should. This shouldn't be dragged out. This shouldn't even go to real courts. This should just be, the NFL needs to at least look into Mike Vrabel here and ask questions. Ask a couple of questions. At least one or two. Not just like shrug their shoulders and say like, yeah, our boy Mikey did nothing wrong, but Dianna Russini, investigate her. You know, if they really want to have any kind of moral high ground in the properly contextualized sports world. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed them. I'm out of time. We'll be off the rest of the week. I'll see you guys next week. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.